So we'll need... That's for another video. The top of the world highway runs about 301 kilometers or 187 miles between Dawson City to either Tetlin Junction or Tok, Alaska. Now, I'm not sure why there's a discrepancy, and that's even through official sources, but considering the fact that Tok and Tetlin Junction are only about 20 kilometers or 12.4 miles, it really is not a big deal. What is a big deal is making sure that you are prepared to drive it. Huh? Like what I did there? So here are my tips for driving the top of the world highway to have you prepared to have the best trip possible. Road conditions. The road ranges from paved to unpaved to yikes. Seriously, in wet conditions, it gets sloppy. And when it gets wet, the shoulders get slippy. And there's not much between the shoulders and really steep drop-offs. So just be aware of that, especially if the weather is less than ideal or if you're in a vehicle that's larger than one that you're used to. On the plus side, or unplus side, the unpaved sections are mostly on the Canadian portion of the highway. So once you get into Alaska, it's better roads. Some rental companies do not allow their cars or their vehicles on the top of the world highway. So if you're planning on renting a car, you might have to shop around for one and or get additional coverage. And if you're planning on just not telling them where you're going, I would just like to suggest that a lot of rental companies do have GPS. So make of that what you will. Best advice that I can give for the driving portion is go slow, give yourself lots of time, and there's no problem. Lots of turnouts, you can pull over, enjoy the scenery, get some photos, and have a snack and if need be. And I would be particularly cautious of taking anything with low clearance, not just for the roads, but for something else that we'll get to. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be bottoming out something. Oof, that'd be ugly. The Poker Creek, Little Gold Creek border crossing. It is only open typically between May to September and from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Make sure you check ahead for the actual opening dates. The last thing you'd want to do is drive there and then be like, yeah, well, we'll see the view on the way back. It does sneak up on you since it's in the middle of nowhere. You're just driving, you're like, oh, here's some buildings. And the staff actually live there, which I think is pretty cool. It is still an international border, so make sure you bring your passport or other border crossing documents like a Nexus Pass. If you have canine companions like I do, make sure that their paperwork is in order. And be prepared to deal with the whole, agricultural produce and all that other fun stuff. They asked me if I had bear bangers. I'd never even heard of such a thing, but I guess it makes sense to have those sorts of things in Alaska. I went from Yukon into Alaska, so yeah, that was the biggest thing. You have bear bangers? I'm like, I don't even know what that is. The road does close over the winter, so even if the border is closed, you can still drive part of it. But yeah, I would be very careful about if there is any question about the weather. If you're not, especially if you're not a local, you're not set for it. Just be prepared. There are limited resources on the highway, and it's pretty much only in the town of Chicken. You can get some gas, you can get some food from the cafe/diner when it's open. There's like an RV park. That's about it. If you're planning on visiting the vast metropolis that is Chicken, there's not much there. It is kind of a historic site, so you do have stuff to do, but there's not much stuff to get if need be. If you have a gas guzzler vehicle or you're planning on doing a lot of the other things, just be aware that that's the only place that you can get gas once you get on the top of the world highway. Now, what usually comes with limited services is limited cell. If you need maps, download them ahead of time or have an offline version or have a paper version. I mean, paper will never fail you unless you need to burn it to stay warm. And I would highly, highly, highly recommend getting yourself the milepost. It is a book, it's about $60, but it is fantastic. It has resources for all of that whole area, the Dempster Highway, Alaska Highway, Dalton, top of the world, everything. So it is fantastic, and you don't have to worry about coverage. Which also means that if you do run into trouble, you want to be somewhat self-sufficient. Do you know how to change a tire? Do you have spares for everything that you've got? If you're stuck with more than just needing a spare, can you take care of yourself for at least a few hours until another vehicle comes? Because when we went, there was not a lot of traffic on the road itself. George Black Ferry at Dawson City. It is 24/7 pretty much, and it is totally free. Yay! It's a pretty quick ferry crossing. It takes about 6 minutes from the time you leave to the time you arrive on the other side of the river, which is awesome. We barely had to wait. I think maybe 15 minutes as we watched the ferry come back from the other side of the river. It is a rough ferry crossing, so from bank to bank, there's no kind of elevation, there's no concrete platform, which means that the ramp can be kind of steep. We had no problem getting on. I banged my hitch off of the ramp getting off. So if you've got something that's really low, just be very, very careful about that, and maybe do like the take it at a serious angle or something. My biggest advice would be to do the side quests. So visit the historical sites, visit the archaeological sites, go for hikes and all that. When we went, the weather was really lousy and we had a lot of rain. And I think it was hunting season, given from all the parking lots that were full of people wearing camouflage and high vis. So not exactly the kind of place I want to be traipsing around the bush, exploring, which is what we typically like to do. And then again, because I have dogs, there's a lot of places I couldn't really take them. Had we had nicer weather and maybe not a lot of people running through the bush with guns, we would have been more likely to do stuff, but it was just lousy, which also really impacted the views. So we did have some nice scenery, but it was after a lot of not so nice roads to drive. The biggest question is, would I drive it again? And the answer is no. I would not make it my goal to visit again like it was this time. My whole trip, this last trip, it was September 2024, was to do this highway. And there was a huge rush because I had to get there before the border crossing closed. And because it was the end of the season, I think we caught just lousy weather. I mean, it was nice that there wasn't a lot of people, which is usually my goal. I don't go on vacation to be around people. I go on vacation to be away from people. But a lot of things were closed. The weather was lousy. So I think if I did it again, I wouldn't make that my goal, but if I was in the area, I would make that drive again. Take of that what you will. I think that towards the end of the season, it would be absolutely gorgeous. The colors on the leaves of the trees would be beautiful, as long as you came before all the rain did. So that's my advice. If you're going to do the top of the world highway, give yourself a little bit more time to really enjoy it and not deal with armed people in the bush. But at least this time I didn't have an armed Marine chomping through a campsite. Oh, well, gunfire going off all around, because that's fun. Thank you for watching. Really appreciate you taking your time to listen to me ramble on and flail around. I know I say it with every video, and that's because it's true. Let me know what you think. Do you have any questions? Is this a road that you would be interested in taking? Let me know below. If you see any value to this, please like, subscribe, and share with all of your friends, family, co-workers, colleagues, heck, even enemies. Subject them to me. I have no shame. Well, we all know that. If you want to know what it was that I was making at the start, I guess you'll have to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss it. Now, if you want to see more about the whole trip of how we got from Southern Ontario, across the Trans-Canada, up the Klondike Highway, across the Top of the World Highway, and down the Alaska Highway, make sure you check out our videos here. See what I did there? Yeah. Safe travels, and we'll see you out there.